Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Rodan. And today, to continue my Disney movie marathon, I just want to do this quick little video where there's gonna be this voice actress who does like this interview kind of thing, I guess, sort of. And yes, from the Frozen 2, the sequel. And yeah, I'm doing another video about this. Yeah, I know a lot of people, or at least some people out there, might be getting tired of me talking about it, and they would want me to talk about something else.
Don't tell me what to do.
The actress who voiced Anna from the first Frozen film and the second one does want to show some details about Frozen 2. You do have to keep in mind this was done around the initial release of the sequel.
Frozen 2. Yeah. So excited about this. Everyone loves it.
Except for this scumbag who keeps picking at this film for whatever stupid reason.
The first one. And I find the relationship between the two sisters so powerful. You don't always see that.
At the very least, not in the Disney animated films. Yeah, not that often in the films, I guess. And this one is trying to break the mold, I guess, in a lot of ways.
On Disney movies, you really never do.
Almost never. Well, we were so proud of the first one because it's breaking the mold of, like, first of all, you don't see two females hit box office numbers like that. And granted, it's a cartoon, but
Right, that might be a bit debatable, but I would definitely say I did enjoy it a lot more than the Ghostbusters remake, that's for sure. And also, it's definitely, without a doubt, a better film than Captain Marvel. Yeah, I said it, and I'm not taking that back either. Also, it's definitely also a more enjoyable film as far as I'm concerned, anyway. A much better film than the Challenge Angels reboot. Yeah, I'm using these three films as an example because these three films I just mentioned, the Ghostbusters, Captain Marvel, and Challenge Angels, because those films, the problem with those films is that they're just female, and that's it. There's nothing more to the characters at all. Whereas with Frozen, at least with the female characters, they are treated as characters. There's more to them than their gender. So that's definitely a good thing there, folks. So, yeah.
same difference. But the reality is, in the first one, it was really important to us to break the mold of talking about romantic love. All the movies talk about romantic love, but personally, I think, and so did our creators, there are two other kinds of love that are really important to accomplish before romantic love comes along, and that's familial love and self-love. And if you don't fill up there, it's gonna be messy with romantic love. So I think that's why the movie hit, because people were just encouraged that there were different types of love out there.
And the next right thing is apparently the song.
Sisterly love in a platonic way, of course, and self-acceptance. Yeah, I can see that in the sequel, and that's one way to teach, the audiences to go into some ideas, whatever. I mean, yes, these kinds of topics, these kinds of concepts aren't really usually discussed in a family movie. Really, I guess they're trying to give it more of a complex plot, I guess, which I'm all for. But one thing I would definitely bring up is in the very first film is that maybe the sister Anna was maybe a bit too eager to fall in love. I mean, was that the intention? I guess maybe we shouldn't just fall into the person's hands the very moment they do something nice to you. Doing something nice to you doesn't necessarily mean the person may have good, judgment on you, good intentions. And the lead female characters in films have been, quite often. So yeah, I know a lot of people are starting to recognize this kind of trend in Hollywood in recent years. Even though, despite the fact this wasn't the only time they had done this kind of a thing. There was that one part of the scene where Anna did try to get the blessing from her sister, the queen, and she's automatically said no. So I'm going to say that this kind of thing was intentional to make a sort of remark about wanting to marry somebody the very moment you see them. I do believe it's like a stab towards films like The Little Mermaid and such, which I'm fine with because honestly, I did like Frozen 1 and 2 much better than the Little Mermaid movies. Not exactly a popular opinion, but I really don't care.
Song that everyone's talking about that you relate to in some way.
Big time. Well, we sat down with the creators before this movie was written, and I mean, our writer, she journaled as Anna and Elsa for months before she wrote this script. They went and saw a psychologist to talk about like the girls' relationship. They really try to make a very authentic human element to.
Well, something I do believe in is the fact that sometimes the best parts of fiction do have some truth in it. So having her saying that doesn't seem much of a stretch, really. So that's definitely a good thing there. Besides, you do have to do some research on making the script because the thing is, one of the most important parts of a movie is Hitchcock, when he was alive, did believe the most important aspect of the film was the script of the movie. Of course, the camera equipment and everything else, but he did feel the best and most important part is the script itself.
These cartoons, and we sat down and she said, what do you think you want Anna to face or deal with? What's important? And I said, I want Anna to deal with her codependency. And the next right thing, because she lives for everyone else, and I often do that, and then when I'm alone, I don't really know what to do or how to function. And
While wanting to help a loved one isn't in itself a bad thing, but doing it too much, yes, can be rather problematic. This kind of stuff, these kinds of themes, when it comes to animated movies, when you think about it, it's hardly ever explored when it comes to any animated film, whether it's aimed for adults or whatnot. So I give film the credit, or I guess something, I guess.
in the next right thing, it's a dramatic song, but it asks this question that I was begging for us to explore that none of us talk about, which is, what do you do when you don't know what to do? Because we've all felt that, but no one talks about it. And personally, I take a lot of inspiration from my husband and his sort of like AA exposure and his sobriety. And it's, you just do the next right thing. You just one foot in front of the other. When I'm feeling anxious and depressed, you just get out of bed, and then you just walk and brush your teeth, and then you just have some breakfast, and you take it in tiny little steps. You just do the next right thing.
Alright, I'm gonna have to correct her on that because I do believe she does miss the point of the original Cinderella. So I'm gonna be defending this film in that case because of the fact that Cinderella, yeah, this film was actually criticized over the years that some people felt that this film focused on too quickly. She fell in love too quickly with the prince and sort of expanded the relationship a bit more and the chemistry or whatever. But I really don't think that was the point of the film. The original Cinderella focused on her specifically, because her step relatives treated her nothing more than garbage. But she remained nice. She remained loving and caring among herself. That in itself can be considered as a personal strength for women. Even though you're in a bad environment, you can still love yourself despite all the harshness. And another thing I want to point out: what made you think that Elsa is interested in men? She could just as well be interested in women, if not both. Not that I'm trying to imply that she needs a relationship or anything. She doesn't have to have a relationship. I'm just trying to point that out. So a bit of an assumption there.
It's interesting, this film also doesn't deal with the usual fodder for storytelling in the animation. Usually it's Cinderella's waiting for the prince, and this one's waiting for this damsel in distress, or they're climbing up Rapunzel's hair.
Yeah.
These are old ones.
Another correction on her part is that Tangled isn't exactly all that old. This film was made over several years ago. And on top of that, the love story in this film isn't exactly like your typical princess love story either. They eventually grew to like each other, despite the fact that there was an age difference, and also despite the fact that, technically speaking, Eugene lied to Rapunzel.
But
But traditionally,
but
it's
this
been
one
that,
doesn't do that. This one talks about boys' emotions also.
Yes, well, that's
Yeah.
one thing that I'm so proud of in this movie, because we do explore romantic love between Anna and Kristoff much more in this movie.
Season 2 is, and always will be, one of my top favorite animated films ever. I'm not taking that back either, because I really honestly enjoyed it. I watched this film twice in the movie theater, and I watched it quite a few times on Blu-ray. But however, if I do have to critique the movie, I do in some ways wish that they could have expanded upon the relationship maybe a bit more. It feels a little overly simplified. But I still like the film though.
But everyone talks about the way Anna and Elsa are represented as women, and dare I say that I think it's more important the things they've done with Kristoff, and that he has this huge power ballad that I think it is going to be your favorite of the movie. It's so funny. It's called Lost in the Woods, and in the beginning he says, "You feel your feelings, and your feelings are real." You don't often see a guy pining over a girl in a cartoon singing about it. Kristoff's having some huge feelings, and he's giving into them in this amazing cheesy way.
Okay, yeah, granted, having a man singing about wanting to have a relationship and express his feelings, yes, true, that's something that's not exactly typical of a male character to do because when it comes to male characters, they're expected to be in these like action-packed type movies, which if you notice, the vast majority of them are male leads, very testosterone type films. Yeah, this is like the more appealing to when it comes to male audiences, I guess you can say. And a lot of these films do make a truck ton of money. Not that I'm trying to bash these films or anything, folks. It's just something I didn't notice. These films can be actually enjoyable if done right, of course. So these movies have pretty much became stereotypical when it comes to men. They have to be tough and be manly, which in itself isn't necessarily a bad thing, but if done correctly, of course.
And then there's also two lines that really pinpoint why I love his representation in this movie. Number one, he rescues Anna from something dangerous in the midst of battle. He swoops her up, and the first thing he says to her is, "I'm here, what do you need?" He doesn't say, "I've got you, stand back." He says, "I'm here, what do you need?" And then in the end, Anna apologizes for something.
Much appreciated. Trying to say thank you very much, lady. You out from her own mouth, trying to view as both genders can be heroic. Not just a man, not just a woman, but both genders can be really heroic. Much appreciated.
And he looks at her and says, "It's okay, my love is not fragile."
Oh, I
Oh, I like that.
So great.
Deep. Very deep.
All right, quickly before you go.
It's beautiful.
I like that.
I know, right?
Wow.
So you have
I'm
a
going to write that
lesson.
down.
Stuff like that is why I prefer Frozen 2 over Captain Marvel any day of the week. Because when you think about it, there was absolutely nothing to the character other than the fact that she has so many powers. She's practically indestructible, and she's a woman. And then top of that, she's so smug about it. Because when I think about it, there is a big difference between this.
And then there's also two lines that really pinpoint why I love his representation in this movie. Number one, he rescues Anna from something dangerous in the midst of battle. He swoops her up, and the first thing he says to her is, "I'm here, what do you need?" He doesn't say, "I've got you, stand back." He says, "I'm here, what do you need?" And then in the end, Anna apologizes for something.
I think compare that speech of that character when she speaks about female interpretations of on film, and then compare that to this.
Has a solution that each one of us in this room can participate in. So earlier this week, USC Annenberg's Inclusive Initiative released findings that 67% of the top critics reviewing the 100 highest grossing movies in 2017 were white males. Less than a quarter.
Of course, you're gonna attack white men. Why you gotta be specific on the color of the skin? That seems awfully racist right there. You see what I'm talking about? Compare that to this, folks. You see the actress right here. She didn't talk trash about men. She didn't bring about anything about the race, and she didn't make fun of them for their gender. So, and you think you would take this as an opportunity to bring up both genders. Just because someone is a woman doesn't necessarily mean you don't bring down the other gender. It does not mean one gender is better or the other. And it's, again, like I said, it's racist to assume that every single white man is going to want to bring down a woman. It's also sexist towards men, too, because not every man wants to, destroy a woman. Not every man has the intention to do that. So yeah, things like this is why I don't like this character at all, or the actress for that matter, because it just comes off she has nothing else than just a personal agenda. That's all this was, a personal agenda, and nothing more. So yeah, that's the thing, folks. But anyway, at the end of the day, folks, all I really care about is a good story. I really don't care about the gender, really. And look at the film Incredibles 2. It never looked down upon on any men, so that's a good sign.
Guys.
You have a new show as well before we go. Encore on
Yes.
Disney Plus. Just quickly.
Okay,
What's it about?
I'm proud of a lot of things. This might be the one that I'm most proud of. We have taken former High School Musical theater casts, reunited them.
Characters should always go through a personal struggle, regardless of gender. If you have to have a female lead, which is fine, at least give her an interesting backstory, and then have the events around her be affected her as a person and whatnot. And whether she makes good or bad decisions, make sure it's relevant to the overall story. Maybe some of the problems like what happened in Brave could have been caused by her. And you're gonna have some stuff happen with the main character and actually learn from it. So stuff like this can be a good thing depending on how it's done.
Some are millennials, haven't seen each other in 5 years. Some are baby boomers, haven't seen each other in 45 years. And they put on their high school production in 6 days. It is funny, it is heartfelt, it is like time travel. They're reintroducing themselves to people they already know, having shed the labels of high school, and it is just incredibly heartfelt.
Day, folks. What really matters is the overall story, of course. I do like the fact that Frozen 2 does take itself rather seriously in a lot of ways, with some jokes thrown in here and there, which is totally fine by me. Or even if you want it to have completely grim and still throw in some humor, I'm fine with that. Even if it's in a fantasy type setting or whatever, you can still have a balance of both if done right. And no, I'm not saying it has to be a joke kind of a movie. I'm not saying that women should be the punchline of the movie or anything. And just because it has a female lead doesn't necessarily mean it has to be, looking down on men and what have you. You can have well written female characters, depending on how it's delivered. You can have a complex story where the characters can learn from what they're doing and have their own individual characteristics. Their gender and their sexual orientation should not, I repeat, should not be the only things about them. There should be more to them than their strength. There should be more to them than their gender. There should be more to them than their sexual orientation. Just treat them as characters, as an actual characters. So anyway, folks, I just want to leave it at that. I know this video went on longer than expected. So, as always, thanks for watching and take care. Till next time, see ya. Oh yeah.